Let us now put our hands on the table and join them together, forming an endless chain that must not be broken under any circumstance. In the great beyond, the souls of those who left us are floating. Let us enter into the world of the shadows and the spirits. Whoever wants to communicate with the departed one, let him speak up and make it known.
Everything is ready, my darling. Do not be afraid. Soon we'll be together again.
This sandwich tastes as dry as hell.
Hello and welcome to Hello, This is the Doom Show. I am Richard. Folks, we are back in the fun studio. It's got all kinds of cool rugs and it's got lots of denim on the walls because that's what you should soundproof with because it's biodegradable. I'm on a tangent and we already started talking to Mark. Hello, Mark.
How are you doing, Richard?
I am doing great. How about you?
I am good, and I'm admiring like how you have acid wash denim, and then like the deep dyed denim, and you've got quite the denim collection on the walls.
Yeah. I spent a little extra, so it would be all Jordache and Bugle Boy jeans.
Ooh! Now let me just pull out my bedazzler here, and I'll make it more homey.
Don't put too much bedazzling because then it won't be soundproof anymore. It'll be really echoey with all that metal. Folks, we're here talking about Devil's Kiss, 1976, aka La Perversa, Caricia. Oh, maybe I'm messing this up already. Caricia, maybe. That might be the pronunciation. De Satan from, I believe this is a French and Spanish co-production. It feels
such, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good blending of both. I was gonna say this feels French, and then I'm like, no, it also feels Spanish as hell. So this was directed by Jordi Guigo or Guigo. He's going by Georges Guigo or Guigo for this one. And the most information I could find about this movie is on the back of the frickin' Blu-ray, where Tim Lucas says, Devil's Kiss was the first and only horror film directed by Georges Guigo, the French pseudonym of Spanish-born Jorge Luis Guigo Aznar. And he has a cameo in the film. And then he talks about the quality of the film. So there's no extras on the disc, sadly.
None. Yeah, nothing. Not even trailers. Nothing.
Well, that's the thing. I cannot find a trailer for this movie. I wanted to do something special tonight. I wanted to find the Spanish VHS tape, not to buy it. I'm not going crazy. I wanted to find just someone who'd scanned the back, and then I was going to use Google Translate to translate the Spanish directly into English and then see what madness came up. But no, I couldn't find a picture clear enough to even run that, the text recognition on it. So I didn't get to do that.
Oh, sadness.
And there's no trailer, but the plot for this is straight off of IMDb because I'm not reading the 2 paragraphs on the Blu-ray. Former Countess Claire and Professor Gruber conduct occult research in castle basement of Count Victor, reanimating people to kill for them. So probably a user wrote that. Left out a couple words there. It's fine. It's fine. We're going to spoil this thing. We're not going to do the whole scene by scene. Mark and I were talking before we started recording about how insane that would have been because even trying to economically write down things, I still took almost 2.5 pages of notes. Oh my God. So we're going to cover the key points of the plot, but you should absolutely check out this thing. About the quality of the film, I try not to spoil this. Get the cheapest copy you could find. You know, you might love this. You might be angry that you checked this out because of our discussion today, but I leave it up to you. I will withhold how I feel about this movie till the end, as we usually do.
And now I can't speak for Richard, but like I myself would actually enjoy coming to your home and watching it with you just to see what you think about it. Yeah.
Oh man, Steve,
I would love that.
I would say this would be a party movie for the enlightened. No, maybe the unenlightened would be better off. Anyway, so the only thing I found about Jordi Guijo, he did direct something that's called El Espectro de Justine in 1986, which is IMDb claims is a horror movie, but I can find absolutely nothing about it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well there you go.
Who knows? The other thing about this guy is that he wrote Exorcism, the Paul Naschy Exorcism ripoff. So someone actually wrote that thing, which I like that film quite a bit, though, you know, it's got some issues. All Exorcist ripoffs have some issues. So starring in this movie, we got Claire Grandier, our villainess, although, hey, the cards were stacked against her. I don't blame her at all. She's played by Sylvia Solar from Killer Wore Gloves and frickin' Eyeball. Hot damn. Oh, man. Next up is Olivier Mathot, or Matot. I don't know. French is happening. Huge Jess Franco guy. This guy was in so many Franco movies. I don't even write any of them down. Oh, he plays Professor Gruber, who for some reason, when we first see him, is literally got green makeup on. And he never looks like that again. I don't know.
Never, ever.
There must have been a bad day on the set for him. It's so insane. We have Jose Nieto, the Duke de Hausamont. This is the patron of our mad scientist here. Jose Nieto was in Frankenstein's Bloody Terror, which I've been overdue for a rewatch for a long time. Next up, we got our sexy maid, Loretta, who's played by Evelyn Scott. She was in Night of the Skull. Jess Franco's all over this thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's particularly hilarious in this movie. She seems like she'd be a character that would just disappear, but she never goes anywhere. It's great. Next up is Danielle Martin, Richard de Hausamont. He's the nephew, I believe, of the Duke. But his name is Richard, which, of course, I love people named Richard. Later, he becomes the Duke. So he's Duke Dick or Dick Duke, whichever. But that's played by Danielle Martin, and he was in Demon Witch Child, which...
Yeah, I love Demon Witch Child so much. Yeah,
that's on our list. We're doing that eventually. Mm-hmm. And then we got Susan, who is his girlfriend, who's a model, who has the scene-stealing model montage we'll talk about. She was in two Naschy movies, Curse of the Devil and The Mummy's Revenge. Finally, we got just a couple of notable people. Victor Israel is in this briefly as a Baron. I was hoping he'd be a main character. I don't know if he has a glass eye or a lazy eye. I'm not sure. But Victor Israel is all over Spanish horror and occasionally pops up in those Spanish-Italian co-productions. I love him. And then we have Jose Lefante. Folks may remember his deep-set eyes with big black circles around them from Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, a.k.a. Murder at Manchester Morgue, Breakfast at Manchester Morgue, and Zombie 3. That movie had so many titles. It's great. He plays a servant who's a little handsy with the models in the house.
Yes, he does. Yes. Mm-hmm. Now, just real quick, I don't want to derail us, but please. I also noticed that so Oliver Method, and then Evelyn Scott and Sylvia Solar all starred in House of Cruel Dolls. If you ever saw that, they were all in that as well.
Dolls.
Yeah, it's basically like a white slavery thing, and they force the women they kidnap into sex work. But they were all in that too. I just found that very interesting. And then you're talking about the Jess Franco thing. I don't know if you watch a lot of weird Jess Franco stuff, but Evelyn Scott and Oliver were both in the Shining Sex film as well.
Yes, I reviewed that, and that was beyond
something else.
That was beyond my porn capability.
Yeah,
especially the deleted scenes were like, oh, there's extended scenes. I'll go to them like,
oh, yeah, there are.
Is, the key word there was extended.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I have not heard of House of Cruel Dolls, although I see Jess Franco co-wrote it.
Yeah, like you were saying, like there, like a lot of Jess Franco overlap, and then a lot of them worked with Naschy in some degree. Yeah.
I definitely did a deep dive into good old Jess Franco.
Oh, Jess.
Boy, oh boy. Instead of a trailer, I'm just going to play a little bit of the music from this, because this has got some nice cuts to it. This movie's got some nice needle drops in it that I wonder how much composing was done, or if this guy who they credited as the composer was one of those house composers for a movie studio. This was all like library music for other things, but yeah. I just watched Curse of the Screaming Dead not too long ago, and the funny thing about that movie is I was listening to it and I'm like, man, they really dug deep for this library music. Then I realized there was a recurring motif in the music. I'm like, holy shit, someone composed this for the movie. And sure enough, it had its own composer. They spent money and they made a whole soundtrack, but what they ended up with was music that sounded like library music from a 60s film in the 80s. It was so weird.
He's like, look what I can do.
Oh man, Curse of the Screaming Dead, folks. That is one of the most brutal, boring things I've ever sat through. That hurt my feelings. I mean, hey, I'm not a filmmaker. I've made like really bad short movies. I've never even attempted a full feature-length movie, but one of the reasons is I don't have enough ideas to fill a feature-length movie.
That's never stopped some people, Richard.
No, clearly not. It's called Curse of the Screaming Dead. Oh my god. So anyway, I'm going to jump into this plot here, or what could be called a plot. If you just went by the dialogue of this movie, you wouldn't know what the story was. You'd never know. The film opens up at an amazing castle, inside of which there is a group of people watching a sick opening dance number. Mark, what is this dance number all about? What's happening here?
So in my mind, this would be like the perfect like birthday party. Like if I had this as a 12-year-old, I'd be in heaven. So basically, you've got this scantily clad woman who I think it's Betty, if I'm not mistaken, one of the models. I think the scantily clad male dancing with her he's more dressed than her, but it's really bizarre. He has like a headdress and like arm, not feathers. It almost looks like
straw.
Yeah, like straw. And then I love that people are just well dressed, standing around watching this like transpire. I told Walt, my husband, I'm like, is this like a timeshare thing? You have to like sit through this before you can like, get your free buffet meal. But it's wonderful. Like every party should start like this in my mind.
This is cultural appropriation, but we don't know what culture.
No, we have no clue what culture this would really be. No, none whatsoever. No, none whatsoever.
Not sure who's supposed to be offended.
No, it's wonderful in so many ways. It's just great.
After this dance number, that's when we get the meat and potatoes of this movie, which is a fashion show.
Holy cow.
And according to what I was reading off the back of the box is that the fashion show announcer was wearing this like skin tight bodysuit.
Yeah, nipple zippers.
That's the director.
I was going to ask you that. I thought, yeah, so he's not a bad looking gentleman. Like he looks good in a nipple zipper jumpsuit.
He's very confident. But his outfit is just the beginning. Mark, tell us about this fashion show, because I know you were excited to talk about it.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, I imagine being at this party where you've just witnessed a dance number and you thought there's no way you can top this, but it can be topped by a bevy of models coming out in like these jumpsuits. And I don't know how they're walking in some of these shoes, because they put Kiss to shame. To me, it looks like someone's almost forcing them, like there's a cannon shooting them onto the floor, because they're propelled out there and they're working it around. It's amazing. It's truly, I would be like into a frenzy. I would be like, I'd be speaking in tongues. It'd be so exciting for me. I can't even imagine, Richard, what this would be like to I can't. Oh my gosh, Richard. It's unbelievable. I will say this though, as you watch it, I feel like they led with some of the better jumpsuits and some of the weaker ones followed up. I would have started with some of the other ones, but either way, it's a feast for the senses. It really is.
Especially on Blu-ray. There's an outfit that I think the Blu-ray format was invented for. I can't remember the colors, but I want to say it was like a flash of like flashes of pink and orange and red, like a collage of those colors, but then a stark black or stark brown sections to the jumpsuit that gave it this like weird uniform look to it. But it was skin tight, bizarre. It was like these fashions are completely insane, and some of them are so wildly unflattering.
Oh yes.
Poor girls, like a couple of them are, there's one girl especially, I'm not sure which model it is. She's like the first one we see naked, and she just zips up into her suit. I'm like, wow, they tailored this for this woman.
Yes.
Because she's naked. I'm like, there's a naked woman. And then she puts on the suit, and I'm like, whoa, that's a really hot woman in a jumpsuit. Like I'm really, like it's like when you watch a lot of Jess Franco and you see Lena Romaine naked in like 30 movies.
Right,
But then when you see her in, what's that one? Macumba Sexual?
Yes.
Where she's just walking around in a tank top and Daisy Dukes, and it's the hottest thing I've ever seen. I'm so desensitized to Lena Romaine naked.
You're right. She's got to put on clothes to get a reaction. Exactly.
I believe I talked about that in that review. I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
The thing about this fashion show that I really love is the sick bass line. This music had me doing freaking turns on the catwalk, man. Some of the music in this is just wonderful.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, it's.
So this segues very awkwardly. So far, we've had a floor show, and we've had a fashion show, and in between all this, we've been introduced to Claire and Dr. Gruber and, Mr. Duke of de Haussmont. This is his house. This is the chateau. I'm going to make this as short as possible because this is the one thing I love is how convoluted and complicated all of this is. Claire's husband was a landowner of some kind, and then some bad deals went down with the Haussmont, and he ended up killing himself. And now she's here bent on revenge. And the Duke doesn't realize that he's the target?
Yeah, he's not the brightest bulb in the box.
He's one of the targets. Yeah. And she's literally talking about how upset she is. But here's the thing about Claire. She's verbose. Like extremely verbose. There are sentences in this movie, Mark, where the dubbers are so confused. The script for the dubbing of this movie must have been wild. I wrote in my notes that the dubbers are getting confused mid-sentence. Her and Dr. Gruber will emit some sentences that are just run-on things that sound worse than what I'm doing right now.
They don't recognize me. Time is not on the side of the poor.
I certainly recognized you the other day in Paris.
Because I gave myself away, in a sense. You must be the only one to know about me. You have to promise me.
I give you my word. No one will know a thing. The Countess de Montcor has died. Perhaps you can talk with her spirit.
Don't joke about this, Duc de Haussmont. It's terrible. The communication with the other world is the most tangible proof of the immortality of the soul and the struggle between the forces of good and evil. Tonight you asked me to come here. Your parties were beginning to get boring. Here we are, hundreds of kilometers from Paris. Thanks for sending a car to the station.
Unbelievable. But anyway, she just lays it down that she's pissed off, and she's very hung up on what name you call her, and I couldn't even keep track of it. It was so complicated.
Yeah, she was very upset about that, yeah.
But the reason she's there is she's a medium, although she says she told the fashion show that she was petite.
That's why her costume didn't fit as well as she thought it would.
A joke. Yes, thank you.
I'm so sorry, Richard. I'm so sorry.
That wasn't a laughing joke. Don't apologize. That was just me trying to make a joke that I knew wouldn't be.
No.
So she's there to bring the spiritualism, or as I believe I heard right in the script, the spiritism, which I've never heard before. So she's about to do some frickin' seancing, which, my favorite thing in movies is seances. And I think it's one of the models or one of the guests who says, "I'm not interested in that bunk," which we need to bring back bunk. It's a great word. So while this is happening, one of the models is hanging out, getting changed in the room. I believe a model named Betty.
Betty, the only model who's named, so we know something important's going to happen to Betty.
Exactly. And she is snooping in the room, and she picks up a box. This like gilded, nice box. Maybe it's a music box. I'm not sure. And our pal, the manservant, Charles, he comes in and just smacks the hell out of her after, of course, attempting to rape her over her stealing this box, which, to her credit, she was just admiring it, I believe. But as soon as she's left alone, the lights go out during the seance, and as they're manifesting a spirit, her lighter that she was holding gets blown out, and she screams, and everyone runs to go save her, and she's just unconscious on the floor, talking about a force. Is that what happened?
I know her name is Betty because they said it if they said it once, they said it like 50 times.
Right.
And then, so the Duke is also talking about, is it his deceased wife that he wants to get in contact with? Wasn't Betty in her room? So we're led to believe that the spirit of some sort's gonna, something's gonna happen to Betty. Yeah. But of course, none of that transpires whatsoever.
No.
Not at all. Exactly. No. And I'd also like to say that if I'm ever present at a dance number followed by a fashion show that's followed by a seance, I will have a conniption fit on the floor because that is my perfect evening. It will never be topped, Richard. I would die a happy man.
Just call it date night.
Oh my gosh, yes. I can't imagine you could not top that ever.
Oh, dark powers, forces of the good and of the evil, forces of the night, permit the spirit of Laurent to return here with us tonight. Permit him to approach the world of the living. Laurent, I ask you if you hear us, and can do so. Let us note your presence here with us in this house.
Now we have the horse riding scene where a village girl has been assaulted by someone, but her parents are trying to calm her down. It's okay, nothing happened, nothing, we got here in time. Thank God we got here in time. And there's some movement in the bushes while Claire is riding a horse. She's riding and riding and riding, and she sees the movement of the trees. They call him a dwarf, but he seems rather tall.
For a dwarf.
Yes, I believe he's short-ish guy, short dude. Ronnie Harp is the actor. This was his only credit I could find, but he looks familiar to me. I feel like I've seen him in another movie. I also wrote down that he looks a little bit like Roger Daltrey.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Richard. Okay. So do you ever recast movies as you're watching them? Because I turned to Walt and I'm like, that's Roger Daltrey. But we're not done because I really want Claire to be Angelica Houston.
Oh my God. Dude.
And the Professor Gruber can either be Andy Warhol or Artie Johnson.
Very interesting.
Yes. No, the minute I saw our dwarf, I'm like, that's Roger Daltrey hiding in the bushes.
Get the other laughing guy. Get Henry Gibson.
Yeah. No, actually, I did this with a lot of people in the movie because, the one guy, the curtain rapist with Betty.
Yeah.
Stephen Wright. He reminds me of Stephen Wright, the comedian. There's many recasting in this movie for Mark. Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought you were going to say Paul Rubens for some reason.
Oh, I love Paul Rubens. Not that I don't like Stephen Wright, but I think it's the eyes that remind me of Stephen Wright. And
that's right. Yeah.
Dour. Yeah. Oh, we will never get back to him again. But the Baron that you were talking about with the maybe glass eye, that'd be Chris Elliott.
There you go. Oh, God, yes. Claire rescues this guy and is like, will you come work for me? And he's like, yeah. So she gets him on the back of the horse, and they awkwardly ride. And this looks like the most uncomfortable, ball-busting horse ride ever. It looks so bad. I thought it was hilarious. She forces this guy gives him a meal, but she commands him to eat slowly.
And on the floor.
She makes him sit on the floor, eat slow, and then watch me undress, which I thought was very funny. But now we've got a satanic ritual to raise the dead here. And Mark, you need to tell me all about it.
So I kind of love this because it's just so wonky. So the professor has come up with a way to reanimate flesh, basically.
Yes.
But you also have to work in a satanic incantation to cause the whole thing to come to fruition to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Claire comes in, because she's got the satanic ritual to make it all work.
Yep, she's got the book and all the decorative elements you need for a good ritual.
It's like a Twisted Wonder Twins power.
So they use their pal to steal a guy who recently died in the village. And that's when we find out about Gruber's process, which he explains. Very long-winded, extremely long, hard to follow explanations of what it is. I think the French with the subtitles, is it French? Yes, the French with the subtitles is less crazy than the English dub as usual. So, of course, I'm going with the English dub. He talks about his regeneration process, which involves the microcells. And he says, I hope I have enough magnetism to be able to dominate the satanic mind that will take control of the body of this poor fellow. And that is the short version of what he said.
Dead matter on the verge of decomposition will rejuvenate. In just a few hours, new and identical cells will replace the old ones, from which they will be born by mutation from the injected microorganisms. But all this will only be possible if the supreme breath of animation penetrates into the body.
We get a fake chicken sacrifice. So it's a real dead chicken, but they don't really kill it because it's already dead. I was very happy about that. And we find out in the same scene about Dr. Gruber's heart condition. He can barely contain the monster because he has a heart condition. And when he loses control of the monster temporarily, he uses a magical spell, a 3-word magical spell to calm the monster down. Did you catch what the 3-word spell was?
No, what was that?
Take it easy.
Oh.
And the monster actually listened to that. Like,
hey.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, my gosh. So don't you think this is like a bit of oversight on Claire's part, hooking herself up with this gentleman who's in really bad shape?
She's like, could you teach me how to psychically control the monster? This monster is going to serve a purpose other than looking like a very skinny guy with some corpse paint, and one of his eyes is covered with scars. And they send him out for a specific mission. What is his mission in the castle, Mark?
Well, basically, they've reanimated this guy to seek out the Duke and do their dirty work for them.
Yes.
Isn't that a lot of work, Richard?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're not even doing it where they were at another thing, so they don't even have an alibi.
No, not at all. Well, then also I'd like to point out that the Duke is nice enough to let them stay there to do this. So if they kill him, they won't have any place to stay.
Yep.
Okay, Go ahead.
I love it. It's insane. So yes, he kills the Baron, who's having a cigarette and holding his candelabra. There's so many candelabras in the movie that you'd think it was Ricardo Freda's favorite film.
Yes.
The Duke dies, and he sets his bed on fire. And they cut to the cops trying to sort it out, and the cop's going in the middle of in mid-sentence. The cop is like, and that's why the fire didn't spread to the rest of the castle. And you're like, well, no, hold on. Well, how? Why? It's so good.
But I do love the setup because he's got the candelabra, and then you see the zombie come in, and you know that candelabra is going to set that bed on fire. You just know it's going to happen. I love it. I love it so much.
Speaking of dream casting these characters, there's a model who looks like Debbie Rochon.
Oh, okay.
And there's another model that Lietta said looked like Diane Lane, which I think that might be Susan, who Lietta thought.
Oh, Diane Lane.
Yeah.
Later, Bill Hader and Patrick Swayze will show up, just so you know.
Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So here comes the unforgettable photo shoot. That's your words, Mark.
Oh my, it's amazing. So, well, I like how they lead into it, because isn't that when the inspector's like, we're going to have to get like some official photos or something like taken, like, and then they go to this guy who I, of course, recast as Patrick Swayze. It's Richard. It's Richard. Yeah. So he's got this woman, Susan, who's just there by a piano. And then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, she's got this like sparkly silver outfit on and a wig that's like the most unflattering thing ever. And it's a dark wig, and she's in front of a black curtain. So like that would be the worst setup ever for photography, because she would just look like bald, like me. It looked like me in a silver outfit. And then like he's taking pictures, but then come to find out he's actually the nephew of the Duke?
Yep, the nephew.
Yeah. And so he's inherited this castle, which by the way seems so cold and drafty, because it's not like a contained castle. Like all the rooms are separate, it looks like.
Yep. And it's just brick. Just everywhere you look, it's just old, decrepit brick, which is part of the charm of this frickin' the creations.
The photo shoot is like, it's not like Smile Before Death photo shoot level, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. There's not nearly as many costume changes.
I refer to this scene as the many faces of Susan.
Right.
Oh my God. It's so cute the way she's trying to make this work. The actress is trying to make this work. Like, because he and Susan are an item, and I don't know if they were always a thing or if this is a new romance. I'm not sure. It's not entirely clear what's actually going on with these two, but they're definitely literally in bed together later. But the saddest part of the movie, of course, is they lose control of the monster, and he kills Loretta, which is bullshit, because I love Loretta. My favorite moment with Loretta was when Richard takes over being the Duke. He becomes Duke Dick. She's like, "Sir, what room would you like me to prepare?" And he's like, "Why, yours, my dear." And she's like,
"Yeah,
you're so funny."
There are so many instances of like people that would be turned into HR immediately in this movie.
It was a different time, Mark.
It was. You could just undress in front of the help and share their beds. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
After Loretta is killed, the monster gets out of the castle and goes for a run. We got a monster on the loose, and then we have the telepathic car chase.
It's so ridiculous, Richard, because so Claire's driving this car, and then Artie Johnson or Andy Warhol or Professor Gruber, however you want to do this, he's like just like holding his temples and like controlling this zombie. But I don't know. I just feel like the whole plan was very ill thought out. Like these two, like did you come up with this on the way to the party?
Yep. They even talk about how that's going against their plan to just let the monster go. What they do is they manage to psychically send him to the Baron's house, which was, I believe, Victor Israel's character. This random Baron.
Yes, yeah.
But here's the insane thing. The cops talk about the deaths of the Baron and his family. So we are cheated of the monster just breaking down someone's door and murdering them in their house, because the film could not afford to show us said scene. Oh my God, and it's like, we've got these two really long sex scenes in the movie, and I would trade both of them to see this scene of the monster like breaking into someone's house. But whatever, it's fine.
Except you would not get Loretta's blue eyeshadow.
That's true. Well,
you could just cut to that real quick and then have the family murdered.
We'd have to imagine it.
Yeah.
In order to cover up Loretta's murder, they do the most logical thing, which is turn her into a zombie. So they dress her up in her maid's outfit and zap her and mentally control her to run the house just like she did before. But now her choker that she was wearing is now a scarf to cover the strangulation marks.
And she's ghastly white.
Yes, I love it. One of the things I didn't mention from earlier was she has this lover who will drop in. She and her lover have a very long sex scene. After she's dead, he comes back. And how does that go?
Not well. So I love how they set this one up too, because earlier we noticed that Loretta must like to knit in her spare time. because on the side of her bed, there's like some yarn and knitting needles and a scissor and everything. So he shows up, Joseph, I believe, shows up and he wants to get all randy with her and everything. And she's not having it because she's dead, but that's not turning him off whatsoever. He's still going to I guess get some. But then she just decides to kill him, stabs him right in the back. But I love her reaction because it's just her eyes are huge and she's so pale and she's got that scarf on and it's just, I don't read The Room, Joseph, read The Room.
It's iconic. Her look is iconic. And I feel like that's why I love this actress, is she's so fun and just a striking presence. He thought he could warm her up. He's like, you're cold as death, but no problem for me.
So now Gruber's got 2 dead people to control and he's in bad health. I just want to point this out. Okay.
He can't contain anything. He's not going to make it. The cops find dead Joseph, and then they take Claire into the hospital because she's like manic and crazy. So they take her to the hospital, and there's this whole sequence with her hooked up to machines, and it looks so uncomfortable. This head gear they have her in, they're doing all these tests on her. They're just baffled by her condition. It's really cute.
Now it's Loretta in the hospital.
What did I say?
Claire.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want people to know. It looked very like Clockwork Orangey, like the next room over would have.
Good call.
Yeah, would have him next to it with his eyes open, and she's over there with all that stuff on her head.
Her eyes are already like that.
Yeah.
They use electroshock therapy to try to help good old Claire out. I don't think electroshock therapy is what they think it's for.
That's the only explanation I can offer without a full exam. Hard as it is to believe, what you have brought me is a person who is already dead. See for yourselves the results of the encephalogram. Her movements were automatized, or they were guided by some unknown power. Her trance was but the product of abandonment of the strange flux that had been maintaining her in this pseudo-life of hers. The electroshock was quite decisive, though I can't say for sure about that. All this is much too fantastic. Starting tomorrow, I'll begin with my colleagues a careful study of the remains of this poor woman. Perhaps we can find the cause of what happened in our experiments.
So they give her some juice, and this straight up kills Dr. Gruber. Like this trauma to his undead servant kills him, and now the monster is totally on the loose. Unfortunately, Susan, Richard's main squeeze and the greatest model that ever modeled a silver dress, she's alone in the castle. Now the monster's after her.
And so she takes off running into it's almost like chicken wire. But she's got that look like she actually saw it, but she still thinks she can go through it somehow. Because I was she looks right at it. So she's boing and she bounces off that. And then it's the weirdest flight for your life that I've ever seen, I think, captured on film. It's just so odd because the zombie himself to me isn't very menacing. You could really kind of outrun him, but she just kind of goes from locked door to locked door. She's not that worried for her life, I don't really feel. I
feel like the director was very scared of this movie being too short. So, he's like, oh yeah, just run straight into that chicken wire and bounce off of it and go the other way. Yeah. And there's a couple of falling to the ground for no reason. There's really no reason you should have tripped, and she ends up on the ground. But luckily she makes her way to the church. Yep. And here's when we find out that the satanic stuff actually makes some kind of difference. Because as soon as the monster sees the crucifix, he's like, oh shit, I forgot about Jesus. And so he's not able to catch her. How do they stop the monster? Does he die just because of the crucifix? Or yeah, he just turns to like powder, like dust. Yeah, just falls to the ground. Yeah. I knew that easy, Richard. Hey, I know. I knew the end result, but I couldn't remember how they got there. Yeah, it's just I'm done. Yeah. Monsters defeated. That's the end of this batshit crazy movie. Wow.
Kid stuff, marbles,
dressing up,
skateboards,
Hostess.
A kid's world is a special world, and Hostess is a part of it. Hostess and kids, they go together.
Fresh, wholesome Hostess cupcakes, fruit pies, golden Twinkies with cream filling.
A kid's world is a special world, and Hostess is a part of it. Hostess and kids, they go together.
In the producer category, this was produced by Marius Lesueur. Luckily, there's not too many French names for me to butcher in this. He produced something outrageously crazy that I told Jeffrey about, and I was so shocked Jeffrey hadn't seen it. I'm kind of hoping that he and I get to do this because it feels like a Jeffrey movie. It's called Angel of Death from 1985. It is Andrea Bianchi, the Italian, who's hideous, by the way, as far as directing goes. I mean that in the nicest way possible. Paired up with Jess Franco. It is insane. It is completely insane. It's Nazis in the 80s experimenting, trying to create a master race, combining people with monkey DNA for some reason. And it's one of the most pitiful action films I've ever seen. And it's so entertaining. Oh my God. Angel of Death. I didn't even look up anything else about this producer. As soon as I saw that he'd been involved in that, I'm like, nope. The music is by Alberto Argudo, who also did the music for Exorcism, for Paul Naschy's Exorcism. The cinematographer is Julio Perez de Rosas. I don't know what else. Oh, The Killer Wore Gloves. There's still some, those like Spanish gialli that need Blu-rays. Or is Killer Wore Gloves getting a Blu-ray? I don't know. He also shot Whirlpool for good old Jose Ramon Larraz, which is one of my...
I love Whirlpool. I'm sorry. I love it so much.
No, it's great. That's one of my unseen Larraz movies I need to get to.
It's in a box set, isn't it?
Yes. And I didn't buy that box set because my copy of Vampires is nice, and I have no interest in The Coming of Sin based on that artwork. Like, horsey.
Yeah.
The other Larraz one that I really, really need to get to is Deviation. I've still never seen Deviation. And there's one more that there's actually a nice copy of out there called The House That Vanished.
Oh, I love that one too.
See, that looks so good. I was putting them off, and now I can't remember what my reasoning was, so now I'm just going to get to them. I get to them. Big Larraz fans in the house. So trivia, we have nothing. Honestly, other than what Tim Lucas helped us out here. And we made all the cast connections for all the cool people in this movie who were in all these other great things and everything. So I guess we could go to, Mark, how do you feel about the devil's smooching?
To me, I love it so much. I can't. You said it earlier, but the translation would actually be the perverse caresses of Satan.
Oh, yeah.
And so, just use that, and there's my sequel, because I demand more birthday dancing. I demand more fashion show and a follow-up sequel seance. This is so good. I just can't. I can't. It's so good. I love this. For the right person, this is just like a chef's kiss of a movie. For the right person, it really is.
Devil's kiss.
A chef's devil kiss. Yes. Opportunity missed. Yeah, I love this thing. I enjoy movies, I think, for reasons other people don't, because I love the fashions. The actress Sylvia, like her looks that she gives, like the camera, she's got like lots of side eye and her bump it and everything. She's just amazing to me in like so many great ways. It's just so ridiculous. Like they really did not plan this out well at all. It's just... It was destined to fail from the beginning, Richard. It was just a bad idea. But boy, I sure loved him for trying. I don't know, Richard. I just love stuff like this. I can't help it. Yeah. What did you think, Richard?
I really like this one. I don't love it. The only reason I don't love this is I got a little nervous about that 95-minute running time, because I was like, ooh, this feels like a 75-minute movie right here. This feels like an 80-minute movie at max. And it does lose that energy, like that energy from the fashion show. I mean, the whole beginning of the movie is like 5 movies in one. But it does lose some steam for me, but under the right circumstances, you could definitely enjoy yourself with this. I found it hilariously cheap that we were cheated out of another monster attack sequence. I thought that was very funny. I feel like this was the movie that Jess Franco didn't want to make. The architecture of the castle is gorgeous. It is lovingly filmed. Oh my God, like this looks great. The pseudoscience is off the chain. The devilry stuff, all of that is just crazy. All the dubbers mispronouncing every single devil is like mispronounced.
Occult? Like occult is occult?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, she'll say some things. I'm like, what did she say? And you like have to listen. It's like, oh, it's an English word. It's just the way they pronounced it. Like, not at all how you would say that word.
That's how like a lot of old movies used to call it sadism.
Yes.
Like boo hoo, you know.
I just picture a lot of emo kids sitting around with sadism.
Instead of ball, she said bail, and I was like, and Leanne and I were like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. The reason I feel like this is so French is that there's other like probably more heavily French co-productions that leaned into the Frenchness. This one leans more into the Spanish side of things, but I was thinking of movies like The Devil's Nightmare around this time.
I love The Devil's Nightmare, yeah.
It's a great movie. That's a great movie. There's just always something a little different. Whenever there's that French spin on things, it's just a little, I don't know if you've seen Night of Death from 1980, 81, 82. I forget when Night of Death came out. But that is a very French horror film. That is like as French as it gets. And it's like so odd. You can never predict what's coming next. That's why I think it might be just a French film thing where they don't have like American brains. I don't know.
Yes, I have seen that. Yeah, I had to look it up. Yes.
Yep. That's a weird one. It's
one of my favorite Jerry Lewis movies.
What's that?
It's one of my favorite Jerry Lewis movies.
Night of Death?
No, Night of Death is really good. I'm being serious now. No, Night of Death is really good. Sometimes I have to actually like look them up because I see so many. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I remember that title. But yeah, Night of Death is very good.
Yep. Well, there's only several thousands of these things to choose from. And hey, I don't know about you, but the older I get, I can retain. There's a movie just out of my reach of memory. What's even worse is like I used to be able to remember directors' names and actors' names, actresses' names. That shit's over.
Right.
In my 30s, sure, no problem. But now I'm like, give me Google.
Yeah. I hope people listening to this will at least give it a chance because I think it's pretty fun.
Absolutely. And I'm sure the Redemption Blu-ray is not expensive. I suspect it's easy to find. And the old Euroshock DVD, the Euroshock collection, that looked great too for the old DVDs. How many people how many people were introduced to so many great things from that Euroshock DVD collection? Oh man.
Yeah.
Image was great. They would mess up a few things. Like sometimes they'd put out a version of a movie and you're like, what did you guys find? I think Image put out the erotic rights of Frankenstein without the erotic part. I have on my shelves the rights of Frankenstein, which has no sex in it. So it's 70 minutes. So Jess Franco with no sex. So it's probably a Spanish version because, Spain, they didn't want those sex scenes.
Right.
And it is so short. And then to fill up time, there's a subplot where Lena Romay is this like village maiden who sneaks away from her family to go and masturbate by a stream. But before she even touches herself, even above her clothes, the movie cuts away from it. And no one knows this version. Everyone's like, Lena Romay is not in that. I'm like, she is in the non-erotic version. So
interesting.
I have a version of Franco film that's catered to my taste because I'm a neuter. No, I just, I started strong watching Franco's movies and the sex scenes. I got burnt out, man. I was like,
Mr. Franco.
I love him. I love him so much. I mean, he is one of the filmmakers I've seen the most films of. Him and Takashi Miike.
Mm-hmm.
seen almost the same numbers of films of both of those guys. I've seen so many films directed by them. It's insane. Your entire movie collection could be those two directors.
Right. That's funny.
But anyway, we have discussed Devil's Kiss, and what we'd like to do on the show here is pick something recently seen and loved, any genre, anything's up for grabs. Mark, do you have a movie you'd like to talk about?
I do have a movie. I'd like to talk about. Mine is the title. Is not a good title. The title's a good title, but it doesn't tell you anything about the movie. It's The Hand That Feeds the Dead.
Oh yeah.
From '74. Okay, you know this one?
I do.
Okay, but it was also known as Evil Face, which I think is way more apropos. It's from '74. I don't know if I said that already. It's a Turkish-Italian production with Klaus Kinski, which who doesn't love Klaus Kinski? Star of like Preacher, Crawl Space, whatever, Venom. Yeah, and then who is it? Is it Katia? Katia Christine? She was in 5 Women for a Killer, and then also in Ryan in Women's Prison, same year, '74. But it's like gothic, but it's almost like a gothic version of like one of those EC comic tales, like where there's a twist at the end.
Good. Yeah.
It's just fun for what it is. I really enjoyed it. You can't apply logic to it at all. Everyone's a moron in it. It's great. It's like my kind of movie. Yeah, but it's a lot of fun.
And it has a sequel they shot back to back. I remember that.
What's the other one? I wonder if I have it.
Lover of the Monster.
Yeah, okay. I didn't realize that, Richard. So I watched that one a long time ago.
That was not as good.
No, I agree with you. It's a full moon feature release.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There you go.
So they're real stripped down, but they're fun.
Yeah. God, I haven't thought of that movie in years. I haven't thought of that. I just rewatched that actually. Yeah. Not the Lover of the Monster, because that one's real rapey, if I recall correctly.
Even when they aren't, isn't every Klaus Kinski movie kind of rapey, even when they're not? Like you just know somewhere in there.
It's implied.
Yeah, he's just thinking it. You just know what's going on.
He's raping your psyche. I remember that there's a gravestone in the one that just says Razumov in it. And it's like, were they talking about Ivan Razumov? Was he supposed to be in this movie? And
no, it is actually Ivan Razumov, because I told Walter, I'm like, that's an actor. Yeah. No, it's actually Ivan. Yeah. So I don't know if that was on purpose or not. So.
I strongly suspect it was on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I picked a movie. I thought I had seen this one before, but I picked it up over here at Viper Video here in Tampa. If you're in Tampa, go to Viper Video. It's a freaking fun place to shop. They got tons of movies, but one of there's slightly less tons of movies because I've got a bunch of movies. I got Dragons Forever from 1988. It is a action comedy romance with the trio of amazing people. We got Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Bio Yuen, or Yuen Bio. I always forget which order they put his name in. This is the most overstuffed, convoluted, schmaltzy bullshit movie with tons and tons and tons of action. Of course, I'm hovering over it on IMDb, and they've got the trailer playing. It's super kooky. Bao Yuen's character, I think he's supposed to be like deranged. I think he's supposed to be completely insane because he rushes into every situation that requires tact and screws everything up. It's grand. He has a sense of justice that you have to just everything has to be perfect. Justice has to be served constantly, and all it does is make everyone around him crazy. And it's so wonderful. If you can find the Blu-ray of Dragons Forever, grab it. You will not regret it. I am just so enamored with Sammo Hung. He's a big man, and he could do the kung fu moves just like the rest of them. Although they were getting pretty famous at this point, so there's a few stunt doubles that creep in. Even Jackie Chan, who's famous for his destroying his body for films, even he has stunt doubles in this because they do some really dangerous shit in this movie. But I highly recommend Dragons Forever.
Now, is this just like a blind buy, or had you already seen it? Did you know something about it?
I thought I'd seen it. What happened is I've seen Wheels on Meals, which is, there's two movies that when they talk about this trio of actors that come up, and Wheels on Meals and this one are like the two movies that are always
talked
about together. And I had watched one of their lesser ones, and it was so bad. It was oh my God. And what was funny was I had taken notes on it years before and kind of told myself, don't watch this again. But I'd forgotten. So Leah and I are watching this one night recently and going, oh boy, wow. And I felt so dumb because I was like, it's called Lucky Stars, The Lucky Stars. Oh, I'm sorry. My Lucky Stars from 3 years earlier, which I'm sure that movie has its fans, but it's just really annoying, irritating. I did not like that movie at all. And that might be why I thought I'd seen Dragons Forever. So when I rewatched My Lucky Stars, it was clear that was not it was not something good. But you know, for fans of the three of them, they probably just are probably telling me I'm crazy.
They're sending you letters as we speak.
I know, I feel bad. It's silly. My Lucky Stars is silly. But yeah, Dragons Forever has that extra punch of just being a good movie. It's not just, you know, chaotic and frenetic enough to keep your attention. It also is a good movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, did you said it was Blu-ray?
Yep.
Who put it out?
It was Arrow. I don't know if they did a region A. It's definitely the one I found is region B. But
so, are you in possession then of a region-free player?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm afraid to go down that road.
For many years, I was not going to do it. I told everybody, I said, hey, as soon as my Sony Blu-ray player dies, I will go international Blu-ray player. And it didn't die so much as it started making a noise that was so loud it was distracting while you're trying to watch it. Let's see, Dragons Forever Blu-ray. Who has put this out? There's an Ultra 4K Blu-ray. Who put that out? I wonder. 88 Films. Oh, maybe I got the 88.
Okay.
Films. I said Arrow, didn't I? Yes, 88 Films. That's who put it out. I have the region B of that, but yeah, it's region A too, as well.
Well, that's nice. That way, people listening want to pick it up. They know how to get it.
Oh, you'll find it. And folks who've seen Kung Fu Hustle, the Stephen Chow movie, one of the main characters from Kung Fu Hustle is in Dragons Forever. That's a little. I did not realize how many films this particular guy. He's. I'm not even going to say what it is because I want people to find out. And if you haven't seen Kung Fu Hustle, I recommend that very highly. That's a great entryway into comedy kung fu, and especially an entryway into Stephen Chow of Shaolin Soccer and God of Cookery and 1,000 other great comedies. But
I caught that one in the theater, Kung Fu Hustle.
Oh my God, me too. So good. We watch that all the time. That's like one of our favorites. Leah and I were dating back when we saw that. I returned to that all the time. My friend had a bootleg Stephen Chow box set.
Oh, that's cool.
It was 40 discs. All of them were DVD-Rs, and it was very shoddily made, barely holding together, and the artwork was definitely just a pre-Photoshop slapped together bunch of bullshit printed on a box. And then when you open the box, it was just like not spindles of DVD-Rs, but like the plastic sleeves.
Yeah.
That weird, soft, like almost fabric on the inside of the plastic sleeves. That was the whole box set. And I recorded everything that had English subtitles because there was like a good third of them that didn't have English subtitles. So I didn't bother with those. But I'm a massive Stephen Chow fan. That I find it funny now how cruel his humor is in all of his movies. The slapstick is often very mean-spirited. It's not like punching down to like lower classes. It's punching everyone all at once.
All across the board.
Yeah, rich, poor, handsome, ugly. Everyone just suffers, and it's very brutal comedy. But man, I will laugh and laugh. It's a lot is lost in translation. Believe it or not, I'm only an English speaker. Haven't gotten my Cantonese and Mandarin and Japanese and Italian and Spanish and French and German and every other language I watch films in. Haven't mastered them yet, believe it or not. Still working on English. But
now, if you could have the skill to just one language, the second one, which would it be?
Oh God, it would be Italian. It would definitely.
Yeah, I was gonna say mine would be Italian for sure.
As much as I would love to get the puns, I believe it's Chinese. They love puns, so they'll have like pun battles in movies. They'll have like rhyming battles in these movies, and because I don't speak Cantonese, I'm like, this sounds crazy. Like this sounds like really difficult dialogue to learn, even if you speak Cantonese. But man, I'm rambling. Let's say good night to the people.
Good night, good people.
Mark, thank you so much for being back on the show.
I thank you again for having me. This is still amazing. I can't get over this. This is so cool. Thank you so much, Richard.
You're the only person who isn't suffering when they have to talk to me.
No, this is so much fun. Thank you.
Cool. Good night, folks.
Au revoir.
Auf Wiedersehen. Folks, thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to doomedmoviethon@gmail.com or hit us up at doomedmoviethon on Instagram or at doomedmoviethon on Twitter or at doomedmoviethon at Discord, or go to Hello This Is the Doomed Show on Facebook and message us there. If you want more Hello This Is the Doomed Show, go to doomedmoviethon.com and click the podcast button for the archive, or go to YouTube and look up Doomed Moviethon and you'll find the classic episodes of Hello, This Is the Doomed Show. And if that's still not enough, I have written some books, about my love of movies over on Amazon.com. Just look up Richard Glenn Schmidt and you'll find Giallo Meltdown, a Moviethon Diary, Giallo Meltdown 2, Cinema Somnambulist, or Doomed Moviethon, the book. Hello, This is the Doomed Show is a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network. Go to legionpodcast.com and check out the other great shows over there.